Joris Nieuwenhuis that's been the last couple of years in the making, hasn't it? From World Under-23 Championship to Under-23 medals, to then going onto the road, and then coming home, coming back to cyclocross, back to where he knew that he could really make a name for himself. And this is the sort of icing on the cake at the moment, this performance.
Absolutely. Best choice he ever made was giving up on those road dreams and being taken on by the Trek Baloise team, so we're seeing that today.
You see Michael van Turnhout, that European champions bike. We always say this man knows how to peak for a championship day, and this section of the course, Tabor, he knows it, he loves it. He won his under-23 world title here, and you can feel for Belgium, they know that they've got to get a medal in this one. The pride of the Belgians rests on Michael van Turnhout and Elie Iserbyt, who's got some work to do to get himself back up there as Thibaut Nys now comes into the picture.
I think Michael van Turnhout is one of the most incredible riders for peaking in the men's. You see him all season long, and he comes to the European Championships, the National Championships, or Worlds, depending on the year, and he just has this fantastic form. And he's so talented. There was actually a thing on Instagram about who trains hardest. They went through, asked lots of questions. Who's funnier? You know, who takes longer in the toilet? And who trains hardest? And Michael van Turnhout said Elie Iserbyt, and Elie Iserbyt said, yeah, me, because they know that when van Turnhout trains for such a short, sharp period to peak for an event, but he comes out on top. But he's just, to me, he's absolutely fantastic, and I really hope that he stays to get that medal.
And this, when you look at that, look at Corne van Kessel at 5 minutes at the moment to Mathieu van der Poel.
These are the sort of conditions where you see the big time gaps, and I think potentially we feared this might happen, just these huge time gaps. It is a long course, so I think more people are going to be able to finish than perhaps if it was a shorter course in these conditions. More would get lapped out. But yeah, I think Jeremy's noticed one rider on the move.
Van der Haar is on the move behind, as we said, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think Van der Haar, you know, he's staying consistent with his lap times. You know, you see everybody kind of in that 2, 3, 4, 5 area, all in that 9:50, 9:45 area. So, you know, you expect someone, you know, is going to have to roll the dice here and try to do a really fast lap. Van der Haar, though, with his pedigree, guys, I don't know, what do you think? But there's definitely a chance, especially if the national team coach is going to say that Pim Ronhaar is fading, that Van der Haar can punch across. I don't know. There's a big gap. It is a big one to overcome, but there's still a lot of racing to go here.
And as Marty and you both said, that this is one of his favourite courses. You know, of course he likes it because it's normally dry, but even in these conditions, the course is still the same. There's still lots of hills, there's still lots of things that suit him, and so after that terrible start, he's composed himself, and hopefully he's going to try and make a move now towards the 3rd place.
Van der Poel goes through with 2 laps to go here in Tabor. There's his average speed, there's his lap times at 9:41 there for Van der Poel as Nieuwenhuis just slides out. You can see just how sketchy that's getting. The camera operator just zooming in on the tyres of Nieuwenhuis just to make sure that he was safely through there with no issues. There you can see the final pit, how close it is. Michael van Turnhout coming into picture in that light blue jersey. Nieuwenhuis, it'll be a welcome sight of 2 laps to go above the start-finish line this time. Van der Poel's lap times 9:18, 9:36, 9:31 and 9:41 as Joris Nieuwenhuis goes through at the end of that lap. 43 seconds and 9:55 for Nieuwenhuis that lap, and Michael van Turnhout is still in the bronze medal position as Pim Ronhaar digging deep to try and keep the hopes alive of a clean sweep here of the podium for the Netherlands. If you're with us on the TV, you're for a short commercial break. We have 2 laps to go. Make sure you come back for the final. We just saw there, did we see there Lars van der Haar just kind of stretching out the back a little bit? It's quite heavy on the back today, would you say, this course?
It is that torquey effort that I was on about, that low cadence power definitely kind of gets the glutes and the lower back. They gradually tighten up over the hour of racing. The man on the move, Michael Van Turnhout, a 9:41. That was the same last lap time as your leader, Mathieu van der Poel. Took a huge chunk of time back against Nieuwenhuis on that lap.
And this is this is Van Turnhout's skill, isn't it, Helen? In he can just ramp it up and up as these races go on.
He really can, and he is so good at finishing off a race when he's in a good place. And yeah, maybe he can when he's not in a great place, but you don't really see that in the result. But like right now, he is really making a push for that second spot. And Ronhaar, in a lot of the races, we've seen him tire a little towards the end of the race. He doesn't quite have that same finishing lap that a lot of the other riders do. But Cohen, you put that alongside the fact that Van Turnhout was just put in a mega lap. And yeah, incredible to see him coming towards that silver medal.
Two laps to go here in the Elite Men's Championship title fights. Mathieu van der Poel leading teammate and fellow countryman Joris Nieuwenhuis by 42 seconds, but the man on the charge is third place, Michael Van Turnhout, at 59 seconds in third place. There he is coming in to your picture in the light blue of Belgium. Can he have the forward momentum here and potentially in these final couple of laps? Beautiful line there from Michael Van Turnhout through that section of this Tabor course. Pim Ronhaar in fourth place for the Netherlands. Ailey Isabit at 1:40 for Belgium in fifth. Lars van der Haar in sixth at 1:55 for the Netherlands. Then three Belgians. Thibaut Nys at 1:55. Jens Adams having a great day out for Adams in eighth place at 2 minutes and 8. Vitse Meusen in ninth at 2:09. Mikkel Boros, Czechia, a champion in 10th. He'll be roared round this Tabor course in front of his home crowd. Just outside the top 10, Felipe Orts of Spain is at 2:13. Then comes Frenchman Clément Venturini in 12th. To the four Belgians, Toon van den Bos at 2:29 with Niels van der Putte, Jorens Vistura and Laurent Sweek. Our first Italian, Filippo Fontana in 17th at 2:48. Dutchman Ryan Kamp in 18th. Kevin Kuhn in 19th at 3:14, and Mace Hendricks rounding out your top 20 here. It's the battle for the medals, and it feels at the moment that, Van der Haar snapped his chain.
Oh, it's an absolute disaster when that happens. He was just coming forward to the front of that race towards that fourth, fifth spot, and such a shame. It's a really long run to the pit, and when the chain's wrapped around like that, it's really tough, isn't it, Jeremy, to do anything in that moment.
Man, I hate to see that. You haven't seen him have that kind of luck all year long, and then here we saw it again with one of the Swiss riders. Timon Rug had a problem with his derailleur. We also saw him have a problem with his derailleur. Had a great ride when he was having in Namur as well for Timon Rug. But in this case, for somebody like Van der Haar to have a problem here on this day, for Van der Haar, guys, it's all about legacy now. At 33, he wants to go down as being one of the most consistent, one of the most decorated, and then this throws a spanner in that. I hate to see that for him.
Yeah, it's a long way to that pit for Lars van der Haar. Such a shame for the Dutchman. He really was on a charge in this field. Mathieu van der Poel comes in to the pits for a bike change. His pitting strategy all the time. So consistent, isn't it? Bike change every lap.
Just pretty obvious on this course that, yeah, once a lap, all that needed. The top half of the section. So he's on a clean bike right now. By the time he gets around to that second pit on the lap, the bike's actually still quite clean. The top half of the course seems to be fairly clean, tacky, so the mud isn't coming up onto the bike as much as this lower section. But yeah, watching Michael Van Turnhout, I wonder, we spoke about kind of almost having to ride that tempo, that one pace, because the conditions are so tough. Michael Van Turnhout must have gone kind of above that limit on the previous lap to put in that lap time. Do you think he can keep this momentum going, Jeremy?
Man, the thing about Michael Van Turnhout is that we saw him in Benidorm riding at the front with Wout van Aert. Right after Van der Poel had his problem, it was between Wout van Aert and Michael Van Turnhout. Van Turnhout came down. I mean, at one point, after Van Aert crashes in that final, going over those planks, it looked like Michael Van Turnhout might actually win the World Cup. And if you think in your head, okay, that would have been against Mathieu van der Poel, it would have also been against Wout van Aert, it's clear to me Michael Van Torenhout has the capability of doing it. Everything would need to come together on the day. But with him continuing to make this forward momentum here, he's only matched the time of Mathieu van der Poel. But just on this last lap, I see Van der Poel taking back seconds in little places. He got back on his bike before when he was going to get into the pit. He got off, ran around a corner, then got back on his bike, then ditched his machine and got off. This lap, he also just ran a road all the way up to the planks. So he is finding, as this course evolves a little bit, more and more time as he goes, which, as you said, Ian, is the sign of a real champ.
And we've got to think back to Hammer as well, the floundering cross in Hammer and the performance of Michael Van Torenhout there when he went with Van der Poel.
Yeah, and you know, he's capable of winning races on his own as well, as we've seen towards the end of the season, and he's just really good at taking opportunities when he sees them, but he's also really good at peaking for an event, like we said. And he's already put nearly 20 seconds into Ron Haar in 4th spot right now, and he is just riding away. I think he's probably got another 2 laps, another lap of this when he gets to the finish line. I think he can see Nieuwenhuis, and that is such huge motivation for a rider like Van Torenhout, who knows he can finish strong.
Michael Van Torenhout, the red mist has descended for the Belgian. 10 seconds now is the gap between the silver and the bronze medal. He is making time, pulling back time on Joris Nieuwenhuis ahead of him with every pedal stroke in this race. You look at Van der Poel's lap times: 9:18, 9:36, 9:31, 9:41 for Nieuwenhuis, 9:25, 9:41, 9:49, 9:55, and the telling sign is Van Torenhout, 9:43, 9:48, 9:49 and 9:41 for the man in 3rd place. So the colours in 2nd and 3rd, the destinations of silver and bronze, are not assured at this stage. Oh, someone's
Funston.
Sorry, Scott Funston having an issue.
Looks to be a little bit of a crash there on that one of those ruts that goes down off that section. Perhaps in that first turn as well. That would have been maybe the point that he was on in the course. Hate to see that for Funston. He's done a lot of work this year to come to the Worlds well. So tough break for the American rider.
They're going to come around and see their 1 lap to go this time. This is the excitement. This is the race for silver and bronze behind. Mathieu van der Poel with 44 seconds will be in cruise control mode at the front, as he has been for the entirety of this race. But you've got to feel now the momentum is definitely on the side of Van Torenhout.
It is. He's the man on the move. We're going to see, it looks like that gap has just stabilised around about the 10-second mark between Nieuwenhuis and Van Torenhout. I wonder whether Nieuwenhuis has just been holding something back, knowing that it's going to be kind of a fatigue resistance race. Often you talk about fatigue resistance over a 5-6 hour classic, but in today's race, in these conditions, that 1 hour of power is definitely going to be strength sapping. As 1 lap to go for Van der Poel now.
Van der Poel gets the bell this time, and it's that killer focus in his eyes, isn't it, Jeremy, that you see Mathieu van der Poel?
Yeah, he's really on it today. He definitely is feeling like he's got this course nailed, you know, in the way that he's riding, everything you can see about Van der Poel. You know, the thing is that he's just got to continue on here. He doesn't have to a lot more to go, but he knows that he can continue to make history here if he's able to just keep this one super clean, and he's not going to take a lot more risk. He's got a great gap that he's been able to build up very maturely over this, right? He hasn't gone totally crazy, blown himself out, gone all in on his adrenaline. So let's see what he can do on this on these last laps.
And it looks to me like Joris Nieuwenhuis is also still really calm and composed. It doesn't, even though the gap has gone down, it doesn't feel like, to me, when you look at his face, that he is even trying at this point, which he obviously is. But I think he's got plenty in him to hold for this final lap.
Pimron Hart comes through. He is still riding in 4th position here as he gets the bell. Look how deep Pimron Hart is having to dig in this race today. Back to our leader. 161 career cyclocross victories for Mathieu van der Poel. And it is kind of when you look at his world championship record. I mean, you go back to Coxsider as a junior, he won gold. Louisville, Kentucky as a junior, he won gold. Hoger Heider as a under 23, bronze. Tabor Elite, gold in 2015. Zolder 2016, fifth. Silver in Bielis in 2017. Valkenburg, he took a bronze in 2018. Gold in Bergense, Dubendorf, Ostender, didn't start in 2022. Hoger Heider, gold last year.
He's got to be kicking himself that he's not had an under-23 world title, though, isn't he? Really? Yeah. I mean, we know how good he is. We know what class he is. We know that this last year he has just evolved significantly into... he was already a natural winner, but now he's even better than he has before. As
1 lap to go for our chasing group coming through. Jens Adams, Mika Borosh and Thibaut Nace. Back to our leader. And Mathieu van der Poel has just now got to string together this final lap. I mean, we see when a rider like Van der Poel puts in a performance like this, it's not the only performance like this we've seen this weekend. We won't give any spoilers in case anyone hasn't seen earlier on today. But to ride like this from the front in a world championship race, Jeremy, this is just, we've seen it time and time again from Van der Poel over the years, but it is just something special to watch.
No, he knows how to manage his energy. You know, he comes into this. I was hearing that he didn't show up for a lot of the, big training sessions. He was kind of out on his own a little bit, just staying quiet, staying, calm, cool, collected. That's the style of Van der Poel. He's not a big, he wouldn't be the guy at the party that would be like trying to hype everyone up. You know what I mean? He's really got a level head. And when he comes into a race like this is where that type of skill really, really benefits him. He comes in here off the start line. It's like all that energy that he saved by not overdoing it at the press conferences, by not trying to be everyone's friend, it all comes out in his legs here, and he's able to put it together, and he's an absolute cannon off the start line. And then you've just seen what he's done lap after lap. Everyone's lap times have gone down since they've started. Van der Poel's have stayed very, very consistent throughout this, but that gap that he built up, Marty, it's been impressive over the course of this hour.
Borosh and Adams together with Nace behind, but Joris Nieuwenhuis has thrown down the power on this final lap as well. He's pushing that gap out. It's been a really measured ride from Nieuwenhuis. Behind him, as you say, Helen, his face belies his power and speed as well. He just kept it. He's just kept something in reserve, kept an eye on Michael Van Torenhout behind him, knowing that he had something left for this final lap. You've got to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw on the last lap he did a 9:52 compared to Michael Van Torenhout's 9:51. So if Van Torenhout's only taken 1 second out of him, he doesn't have time to close that 17-second gap. So for Nieuwenhuis, he just has to remain composed. And we've seen him at the front of races, haven't we, Ian? Just riding like this.
It's one of those courses we spoke about. Oh, he just misses his pedals once again. He's had trouble on that point a couple of times. It's that sort of race where you just have to ride your race pace tempo for the hour, and you can go above it for a certain period of time. We've seen it in the other races. We've seen it with Michael Van Torenhout. That was my fear with Van Torenhout, that he went above his limit for that really, really fast lap when he came out of that group and across almost to Nieuwenhuis. But you then have to calm down again. You've only got so much energy availability above threshold, and he's just had to settle back down to kind of that race pace, that hour pace that we talk about. And Nieuwenhuis has been riding at that since the off, and it looks like he still has a little bit left for this final lap. So, yeah, great conservative ride from Nieuwenhuis at this point. Van der Poel in for the final bike change, you would have thought, at this World Championships.
Interestingly, we saw Michael Van Torenhout was actually in the little ring on his bike there as he was jumping back on, and it's very rare, even in these conditions, that we see these riders drop into their little ring when they've got a double chain ring set up, which is probably why he's got so much more cadence and he's able to accelerate quicker than a lot of the other riders.
Yeah, it's one of the few courses I used to have to drop it down into the little ring after the steps. It's definitely one of the places. Depends. Worlds here, it was very, very slippy on the remount, and so yeah, just knock it down into that 39. It looks like Isabit's got blood on that right knee. He's been down.
When you crash on this course, it really hurts. Even though there is mud, it's not like a deep, deep mud, and so a lot of the course has harder sections, and so when you when you end up stacking it, you quite often end up in roots or rocks like we're seeing coming through into some of the ruts, and yeah, it can actually really hurt in this race. Interesting technique there by Thibaut.
Thibaut Nace not playing any games there. The heck with getting the bike up on the shoulder. Let me just get this thing back down on the ground. The thing is the rider at the front of this race, we have not seen make a single mistake. Not even like we saw from Neuvenhaus when he just missed his pedal. Van der Poel has been absolutely perfect, and that is the class that you expect from a rider of his level, but it's what shows, it's what comes out every single section. He's aced it to perfection, whereas you see other riders having to really, you know, kind of cut corners or do things that are silly, like what we just saw from a rider from Nace there. And this is the difference. These are the little differences at this level that make a standout ride like the one that Van der Poel's having.
And this is an out, you've got to say, from Pim Ronhaar as well, former under-23 champion, 16th last year in Hoge Heide. This is another step up again, 4th place in an elite championship for Pim Ronhaar. He's still only 22.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's only just gone out from under-23s, and we know he's an incredibly confident rider in the way that he used to race there. And I think it's great that you don't have to just be the most talented rider in the world like Mathieu van der Poel or Wout van Aert in order to step up to the top. You can be really, really good and still do well in these races. And he's got a fantastic future ahead of him, for sure. Don't you think, Ian?
Absolutely. He's definitely going to try and follow Van der Poel's footsteps as such. Like you say, he's not quite been of the level, but world titles to his name, and I'm sure in the future he's going to take out this elite world title at some point. Does look like Neuenhaus, the canny older rider, just saved something for this final lap. He knew that strength endurance across the final lap was going to be the key to this one today. Obviously went very fast at the beginning to kind of follow Van der Poel, but I don't think he went into the red to follow exactly on the wheel, kind of rode his own pace and just saved something for this final lap.
And he is, isn't he, Jeremy? Neuvenhaus is just so cool, so calm.
Yes, he is. I just think that we would all agree this course too hard to do anything explosive, right? Whereas you see a course like Benidorm, it's almost like the riders are they're holding back. They've got so much power, but they can't put it out. There's not enough course. This course, there's so much place to put out power. But after you go up those stairs and you're going super deep, there's nowhere else to go. You're just at your limit automatically.
It is not long now, just the final few corners for the elite men that brings to a close these UCI World Cyclocross Championship title races. Mathieu van der Poel descending off the bridge, takes that right turn round by the section of the course now for Van der Poel. By the pit, it's the final few hundred meters. The question coming into today was, could anyone prevent this man from taking a 6th World Cyclocross title? The answer is a resounding no. The King of Cross, Mathieu van der Poel, sees the line ahead of him. Cross win number 162. He keeps his 2 world titles. Mathieu van der Poel is your World Cyclocross champion yet again. It is something else, the splendor, the majesty of the riding of this man. He does it yet again. Van der Poel, unmatched in these World Cyclocross Championship races. And behind him, it is a silver medal for his teammate, his fellow countryman, one of the riders of the season, the former world under-23 champion, Joris Nieuwenhuis, comes home for silver, makes it a 1-2 for the Netherlands. You would say a crowning glory of a great season, and behind him, it is a bronze medal for Michael van Turnhout. He took his own under-23 World Championship title race here in Tabor. He saves the day for Belgium to come home with a bronze medal. But what a race Van Turnhout gave us here in Tabor today. A well-deserved bronze medal for the Belgian.
Yeah, I mean, what a fantastic race. I mean, to be fair, Matthew van der Poel does look tired for once. So obviously, yeah, given Rudolph, the Rudolph brothers run his team and giving him a big hug and saying thanks. And yeah, and you can see the disappointment in Ronhard, but I think when on reflection, I think he'll see that that was actually a really good performance and it's something to work on into the future. And yeah, but looking back at Mathieu van der Poel.
Yeah, straight in there for the next generation, signing the autographs. He'll never forget that. Elie Sabit comes home for 5th place for Belgium. Just has a quick glance back over the shoulder. And then we will see the battle to see if Nico Boros can perhaps take one of the best finishes of his career. I think he's going to equal it, but Jens Adams is going to come home for 6th place. This is a great ride today from Jens Adams. And Nico Boros is going to equal his 7th place in Bielis in front of a home crowd. The roar for the Czech riders today. Vitse Miusin is going to come in for 8th place. Thibaut Nace behind him is going to take